Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Sean with Solis Review. Today we're going to be going over the PCS Judge Dredd color, the comic version. I believe it's a DX from PCS for their version. We're going to be going over all the pluses and the negatives, so tune in. Before we get started, please make sure that you like, subscribe, share. Let's keep this channel rolling. Okay. So a little backstory here. Judge Dredd is a British comic that I think it's AD 20 or AD 2000 is the company that produced the comic. Long time running, very cool comic. I think my favorite storyline from the Dredd comics is the Judge Death storyline. But several movies have been made of the character. First one was the mid-90s Stallone version. I enjoy that movie greatly. Awesome costume there for this uniform, but so nothing like the comic book. In 2012, I believe, the next Judge Dredd movie was made with Carl Urban. Much more authentic to the actual Dredd comic book. Still, you know, its own thing, but a lot more similarities, especially like with the helmet and things like that. But great movie. One of my favorite movies. I love Dredd. It's a great movie. I hope that they do a sequel, or there's talk of a TV series going. Hopefully, if they do the TV series or the movie, that they get Carl back, because to me he's perfect Dredd. Judge Dredd is a character in a dystopian future where pollution and crime become so severe that pollution first destroys a majority of the planet, making it like an irradiated wasteland, and that there's these mega cities that form that are, you know, like several billion people in one city that, you know, is endless essentially. And crime is so severe in those communities that police can't keep up with anything, and the justice system is failing, and society's falling apart. So they create the judges, and the judges are essentially self-contained law enforcement and punishment services all in one. They are judge, jury, executioner. They act as if they are judges with the ability to police. It's an interesting thing. They'll go through procedural when they see someone commit a crime. They'll read out like as if they're kind of like in court what the charges are, how they find the judgment, and then what their punishment is, and then they they execute the punishment, which in a lot of cases tends to be death. It's pretty justified in the comic book. The criminals are pretty crazy and severe, but the comic itself definitely explores themes of draconian police and the right and the wrong of being like that as a society. So I think it's a pretty interesting read. And they also take essentially what is the most brutal enforcer of a police and somehow make him the best element of that city, and he is somehow a hero. Kind of reminds me of the idea they did with Tony Stark making a weapons manufacturer into a hero. It was, it kind of feels like it was on a bet. Like, I bet you can't make, this hardcore police officer that, has to kill people into a hero. But they do, and he's actually, if anyone, was innocent, he's the cop you want, on your side. If you're guilty, he's the last cop you want chasing you. So yeah, that's Judge Dredd. Concept. Do they bring the concept from either the movie or the comics into reality with the statue? Well, absolutely. It's based off the movie. I think sculpt-wise, it's dead on. This is a particular variant where it uses comic book coloring schemes with a sculpt from the movie. So in some sense, I think that it brings both worlds. And in another sense, I think that out of the two versions, which is one a comic book themed color one and another one which is a movie themed one with a different base, I much prefer this one, but we'll get more into that later. So yes, concept wise, to me it's dead on. If you're cool with it not being the exact color from the movie, I think that the concept it brings is definitely there. Let's go with dimensions real quick here. From the highest point, which is right off the tip of his barrel, I'd say it's just below 23 inches. It's a very small footprint. The width of the piece is maybe just under 8 inches, and depth, I'm gonna go, is all in the base, and I'd say that's just under 9 inches. So super small as far as the footprint, which is great. You can fit him in with a lot of pieces. I was very happy. He fits in my Besta with maybe a centimeter clearance on the top of the pistol. So you may prefer the arm down extra piece that comes with the DX. I don't know why they call it a DX since there's only one version, but it is what it is. It comes with a second arm. I think if I remember seeing the Rad Titan review for the movie edition one, it has multiple heads, which this one does not. The head is a part of the body. The only part that is removable is the arm and the base. So we went over dimensions. Engineering, it is dense at the base for sure, which is good, especially with its footprint. It seems pretty solid. He keys in really nicely. I didn't have any issues with that. The arm is a very large key. Here, I'll show you. Surprisingly worked really well. I wouldn't say that it has super strong magnets, but it easily went in. Not an issue at all. I was pretty happy with that. I prefer the gun up. I feel like gun down is something that they put in there to help people with display. It takes a little bit off. I prefer it pistol up. Okay, so we've gone over concept, we've gone over engineering, we went over the size. First thing I'll go over is sculpt. Let's begin at the base. And looking at the base, I feel like the base is going to be the weakest part of the entire piece. All it is this kind of mud with square stones throughout it that have some bullet holes. And that is it. I just think that, we probably could have done more with that base. The sculpt on both the dirt and the rocks and the cement are not what I would say is crazy impressive. This might be a case where if it had a better paint job, it might come across better. But from this standpoint, I would say that it's very one-dimensional, and I'm not a big fan of that. Looking at the uniform here, looking at the boots, I think the sculpt is dead on. It looks great. There are areas that look like polished boots versus more of the, kind of a knee pad plastic. The leather on the thighs is kind of a oddly extra bumpy right here, which I believe may be related to like the same kind of an armor plating that's in other places, because the back of the leg looks like actual leather. You can see definitely folds in the uniform and the fabric in the back, where it would fold over below the butt because he's got his legs sticking out. The sculpt on the holster looks, you know, dead on clean, like it could just click right in there. Nobody skipped anything when they did that. Next is the belt, which is a jewel of this piece. It is wonderful. I can identify everything that's on his belt for the most part. I mean, it looks like disc explosives. I see clips for his pistol. I see even the detail of one of the clips is missing. I see handcuffs, grenades, a medic bag, some sort of a blade knife, maybe a flashbang, and then the crest belt. I think that it's a lot of work that they put in that, and that shines through. It's really cool. I like it a lot. Looking at the vest here, you can see a lot of detail that they went in for, like a texturing. You can even see the zipper inside the crevice where it would normally be. They put a lot of extra detail in there. Again, his armor plating has that same kind of a dimpling look texture to it. The Dredd badge looks like dead on from the movie as far as the sculpt. There's no blurring or losing a resolution as you put it into kind of a smaller scale here. Shoulder looks dead on for the sculpt. I can even see little belts that would hold on certain parts of the armor. The back looks good. It definitely brings in an aesthetic from padding for a motorcycle vest, which he drives in the movie. The eagle looks cool. I prefer the eagle from the Stallone Dredd, but this one is definitely cool. I can see details in it that I would not have noticed, I guess, from the movie as far as plating wise, how it moves. Looking at the pistol, it looks fantastic. It looks very detailed. The lawgiver is black in the movie, so I don't expect a whole lot going on. You can tell that they used a different shading for the pistol versus the rest of the armor, which has the bluing. So sculpt wise looks great. Sculpt on the portrait is the coolest part to me, right around with his utility belt. The sculpt on the head looks great. It's got that perfect, Dredd scowl to it. Carl Urban looks great. The helmet looks awesome. So yeah, sculpt on the body on Dredd is great. Love that. High marks for that. Sculpt on the base, crap. Now, let's go with paint. Paint on the base, also bad. It is literally, it looks to me to be all one single color for the dirt and rocks. Not a fan of that at all. There's no shading, there's no shadow, there's no variance in color as far as the brown. It looks like toy dog poop. It's really not impressive at all. No offense to anybody that worked on it. The base on the cement, it's mildly better. I mean, it's not all one color. You can see variation when it comes to there are different lights and darks in there and some shadow, but it still feels pretty artificial to me. I'm not a huge fan of that. There are some bullet holes and they do have depth to them, but they're painted like a single kind of a white bluish color that I feel like looks like one of those stickers that you see on people's car that they put fake bullet holes on. It's not very impressive at all. Going up on the body, it looks like they did start out with like an initial black everywhere, similar to the movie version of it, but then added highlights that are like the comic book as far as blue tones for the knee pads, for the belt items, for the armor plates. The paint is differentiated on the parts for the utility belt. Looks great. Like the magazines are darker, and the belt accessory where they're stored is blue. Everywhere that's a bit of an armor or an accessory has kind of a blue tone to it. It looks great. The lawgiver, like I had said, is a different kind of a black than anything else, so it shows a little bit of time and effort there to differentiate. The Dredd symbol badge is great. All of the places that would be golden are painted kind of a yellow goldish color for the comic book look. The helmet looks clean, but it has definitely a comic color to it. The red is a bit more comic red than I guess the gritty look that the movie version would have. They painted on these white stripes for the glare on the glasses. I didn't know if I was gonna like that glare line, but I really actually do. My brain kind of forgets that it's just a white stripe, and I think that it speaks a lot to the comic book version of the look that he carries. Paint on the portrait really depends on the light. I think that there's a lot of, good here. It's not the best portrait I've ever seen. Sometimes it can look really light and sometimes it looks just fine. But yeah, I would say that it's decent. Okay, so we've gone over paint, we've gone over sculpt. I would say overall that this is a fantastic piece for what it is, for that character, for this version. Could I imagine better? Sure. Are there worse out there? Yes. And yeah, overall, if you're a Dredd fan, I'd say that this is a reasonable catch. There's a 1/3 comic book version that PCS makes that looks fantastic that I may eventually get. But if you're a fan of the movie, I think this speaks volumes to it, and I would definitely get it. Yeah, I'm happy I did, for sure. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out. Let me know. It's one of my favorite things to chat with you guys. And thanks for tuning in. This is Sean, Solis Review. Have a great day.